Hey, Troy Howard Middle School. Welcome back to my basement. I'm going to do another enrichment activity here for Tech Ed. And this one's going to be might be a little tricky for some of you, but hopefully you can give it a try because you're going to need some specialty things. And what we're going to build today, I'm going to show you how to build a hot air balloon made out of tissue paper. So before we get into that, I want to show you what you're going to need for materials so you can prepare ahead of time. Obviously the tissue paper, first thing. And I think you can find this any place where you can get wrapping paper. The sheets need to be, according to my plans there, 20 inches wide by 30 inches long, which I think is pretty standard for tissue paper. And you're going to need 12 sheets of that. So 12 sheets of tissue paper, any color will work. You're going to need some scissors, some glue sticks, probably one or two would be enough. Some paper clips, bigger the better, markers, and some tape, some masking tape, ruler would be good, and if you had some kind of a square, I'm going to use a big framing square here. This paper here is going to be used for a pattern. I'll get into that in a minute, but it'd be helpful if you had some kind of heavier stock paper that you could put either large sheets. If you don't have large sheets, you can do what I did, which is put pieces together to make the pattern. I'll go over that in a minute. And the other kind of specialty things you might need, you have to check with your parents on that, is you're going to need two heat sources. One could be just a hairdryer, just to test it out and see if you have any leaks and how everything works. And to actually launch it, you're probably going to need a little bit more heat than that. So what I've done in the past is I use propane with like a camp stove or some kind of burner that you can generate a little bit more heat, and you can do it outside on a nice calm day and launch it. But again, you might want to check with your parents on that one. But I'm going to do a separate video and go over that a little bit more as a separate video of the launch, which we'll be doing outside. And it's been so windy, we can't really do that yet. So, most of the time during the video, I'm going to be standing up, so you're probably just going to be hearing me and seeing my legs. But before we get into that, I just want to show you this little, I don't know if you can see this poster here, but type of hot air balloons were the very first type of flight invented, and it falls under a category of lighter than air. Lighter than aircraft would be things like hot air balloons and blimps and dirigibles and things like that, and then they rely on a lifting gas. And lifting gases that we're familiar with are things like helium and maybe hydrogen, which are gases that are less dense than the surrounding air, so they rise kind of like the way something floats in the water. If it's less dense, it'll rise up through that surrounding fluid. Hot air, as was discovered by the two Frenchmen, the Montgolfier brothers, in the 1790s, I think, discovered that hot air is also less dense than the surrounding cool air, so it works for a lifting gas. Now, they didn't have a really good heat source like we do today for hot air balloons. Hot air balloons today have propane, like we're going to use, and that propane can be controlled, and they didn't have that. So that hot air balloon back then didn't hang around for very long. It was quickly replaced by hydrogen balloons, which was a lifting gas that was, you didn't need a heat source or anything like that. You didn't need a fuel, and those were used for a long time, and that evolved into these airships where the shape was changed in order to make them more aerodynamic so they can be moved. And then dirigibles, or like zeppelins, which are much larger and had to be made with a rigid frame or structure. And those were used right up and through the 30s and were replaced mostly by airplanes. But we still have blimps around today that use helium, like mostly advertising blimps that you've seen. So, that's just a little brief history on lighter than aircraft. And like I said, the problem with lighter than air, most of lighter than aircraft, like a balloon, is you can't control it. Right? It's going to go up, go back down again. You can't drive it like an airplane or even a dirigible or an airship. So, but they're still used for recreation. Anyway, let's move on to the hot air balloon. So the first thing I did with this is I had to make a pattern, and I'm going to hopefully talk you guys through this so you can understand how this is going to work. But you're going to need a series of paper, a combination of paper taped together like I did here. It's got to be close to 60 inches long. Our total is 59 inches. And to create that shape, what I did was I taped together that paper, making sure this edge here was nice and straight. So I laid straight edges along there before, as I taped it, to make sure that was going to be a straight edge there. Then what I did was I took my framing square and my ruler, and from this end here, I'm hoping you can see these measurements. I'll show you again in a minute. From one corner of this sheet, I measured over 14.5 inches. I made a mark. From there, I measured over 2 inches, and for there, 3.5, and then another 3.5, and then finally 7.5 here. And at each one of those points, I took a square, and I made a straight line from that edge down with that square. And I did that at each one of those, and you can see those lines here. On those lines, I measured down from the top edge. I just took a ruler and measured down like this, and I made a coordinate point. This first one is 8 inches from the top, so I just put a little X on that line. The second one is 9 inches. The third one's 9.5. The fourth one is 9 3/4, and then this last one over here is 9 inches from the top, so I measured down. And that gave me the points that I need to connect all this together. So you can see we've got a point here, 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 and then finally I forgot to mention, on this end, I measured down 3 inches from the top, and that's going to be where our balloon is going to be open on that end. So once I had those points marked, and I just took a straight edge from here, and it's pretty much a straight line to this point. And then these are pretty close to straight, but you can add a little curve in those and connect those points, and ultimately you connect that to the point on the end. I'll hold that up one more time so you can see those measurements right there. Just you want to pause it and look at that again, like that. And then so once you get that all marked out, looks right, then just take a pair of scissors and cut that out. Cut that out. I didn't want to cut it until you guys saw it. So we're just going to cut the excess off. And if it's not exactly like this, it's not as important as it being, the length and the width being right. And the curve is, doesn't really matter either, because we're just looking for symmetry. So if we use this as our pattern for every one, they should all be the same, and that's the most important part, that they're all the pieces are the same, so they'll all fit together in the end. Yeah. And you can see I used some heavy paper. I had to use 8 by 12 pieces, but you guys, if you had something bigger, it would make it a little bit easier for you. Right there. Get rid of that. Now, so there's our pattern. All ready to go right there. All right, the next step is our tissue paper. Make this square from now. So here is our tissue paper. We're going to need to put two pieces together. So we have our two 20-inch by 30-inch pieces, and I'm just going to take a glue stick, and I'm going to put a film of glue along the short edge of just one of these. So I'm just going to go right along the edge, put a good film of that glue down there, like that. Make sure you don't miss any spots. And then take the other sheet, and you're just going to stick it on this. Our overlap between the two is no more than about 1/2 inch, probably. And just stick that down. And you do a very good job there. All right, so there we have that. So those two pieces are stuck together. Okay, now the next step is we're going to fold it. Fold it in half and try to get it as close to half as you can, which looks pretty good. You go ahead and put your crease in it, all the way across like that. So then we take our pattern that we made, and we're going to lay this right on there. Now, when you lay this pattern on here, you need to make sure that the straight edge lines up with the folded edge. Okay, we don't want it like this, otherwise you just end up cutting that. You'll end up with two pieces instead of one nice big half. So basically what we're doing with this pattern is we're kind of like cutting it while it's in half, and then we'll open it up and we'll have a nice balloon-shaped piece. One end here's got a point on it. Make sure that lines up with the end of the tissue paper. If this end lines up a little short or long, it doesn't matter. That's the opening of the balloon, so it doesn't matter as much. So to get that to stay while we mark that shape on there, what we're going to do is we're going to use some paper clips. Bigger ones work better if you have them. And carefully just slip a few on there so that the pattern's not moving around while you try to trace it out. Like that. And a couple more here would be good. Keep that edge even with your folded edge. One more. Like and now we can just take, you guys can see that. I hope a little bit so you can see what we have. Like that. I'm just going to take some marker and I'm going to follow my pattern marker. And right around the end, like that. Right. So now the pattern can come off. You have to be a little careful taking these paper clips off. You don't want to rip your tissue paper. Sometimes the little end gets caught and it can tear it. So go slow on that. Remember I said you need 12 sheets of tissue paper, but it's helpful if you had a few extras in case you messed up. Alright, let's set that aside for a minute. Now we can see what we traced there. Let's just simply cut that out with a pair of scissors. This is really fragile stuff to work with, so you gotta kind of be careful. Here. And the colors, like I said, doesn't matter. Generally, hot air balloons are made out of bright colors. I think for a couple of reasons, for spotting, but also the way if the sun hits it, has something to do with that. Anyway, all right. So here we've got. Oh, by the way, save these. They make good patches if you have little holes and repairs to make. So save a few of those anyway. So now we have our panel. I'm not going to open it up all the way. I'm just opening it up a little bit so you guys can see what we did here. Okay, we'll leave it folded for the next step. All right, so that's one panel. Now, you're going to need a total of 5 pounds. Okay, 5 pounds? 6 pounds, sorry, 6 pounds. And what I did was I already put together some of those here. Just so I can demonstrate to you how to put these together. Looks like that one here too. So I've got 4 panels here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take another panel that I made and show you how to attach them together. So our pointed ends go together. And you're going to take, when you put 2 panels together, and lay it so that the folds are lined up with each other. I'm going to fold that one back out just temporarily. And take my glue stick, and I'm going to run film of glue about a ½ an inch away from the edge on this panel that I'm gluing it to. You'll see that again, because I'll do this again for the next panel. I'm going to glue together 2. Get a better idea how to do it. Follow all the way around. Like that. And then take this, line up the points really well, line up the edges, and press that down on there. And that's all pressed down. Okay, and then this can get folded back. And then we take our next panel, and we do the same thing. Fold this back, film the glue on that edge, all the way around that edge, And try not to miss any spots that'll show up as leaks later. Which you probably will have some leaks that we'll repair later on. Takes a fair amount. And just put that one down. Start with the pointy end. Get that lined up to there. And then come down halfway and get this lined up. And then stick it down. Like that. Alright. Now, so I've got 6 of these panels together. You can see them right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. Now, to complete this, we just open it up, we're just going to have one big sheet. So to complete this, to make it a balloon, what we have to do is we're going to take the bottom, one side of this section of panel, fold it out, and then we're going to do the same on this end. We're taking the 2 outside panels, folding them out, and those are going to get connected together. You see how that's going to work there? You see how those panels in the middle? We fold out the 2 outside panels, fold this out to the back, we glue it, and same gluing procedure all the way around this edge. And take this one, fold that into there, and get lined up. There we go. All right, now that completes our balloon, kind of makes it into a balloon. You can see we've got this end is open. That's where our hot air is going to go in. Okay. We've got this end should be closed up. Not a bad idea to go back. You see how those ends are kind of open there, so you go back and you can re-glue and fix anything that you still see needs to be re-glued. And stick it all together. And then on this bottom edge, what we'll do is we'll take some tape and put a liner around that edge. It makes it a little bit, it keeps that open, filling with hot air. Keeps it open a little bit better. So take some tape and kind of go halfway over the edge of that opening, like that, and then just kind of fold it over. You see how that kind of stiffens up that edge. And you do that all the way around, and you end up with a nice circle, rigid circle that you can, helps you fill it up with air. That's going to be a good size one. You can also pinch these closed a little bit like that. Try not to add too much tape, because like with any aircraft at all, whether it's an airplane or lighter than an aircraft, weight is important, right? You don't want too much weight on there. You do that one very well. All right, so instead of me doing that while you watch, I'll have one already made. I'll show you the next step. This one, this is one that I have that's already ready to go. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to test it out with my heat gun. So I'm just going to hang it, take some tape, and I'm going to hang it from the ceiling. So I've got a wire hanging down here. But you hang this up. I'm going to change my camera a little bit too, since it's working higher. You can see better. There we go. All right. I've got my heat gun here. Plug this in. Let's see how this works. All right, so underneath, I'm going to open up my little hot air opening. I'm going to put that nozzle of the heat gun right up in there and try to inflate it if I can. You might have to stop a minute, and open up some of the panels. It might open up on its own. And now that's opening up nicely. Let me just check my camera here, make sure I'm getting, there we go. Alright. Looking pretty good. This one here is a little bit more color coordinated. You can see using two different colors that alternate. It makes a nice pattern. There's another way to do it. So if you have to stop or go back and open up some of the panels, you can do that. I'm just going to stop for a minute and pull some of these out. Now what you're looking for is to make sure there's no big gaps or holes. Let's go out a little more. If there are big gaps or holes in the seams, you just have to figure out where they are and go back and put some more glue on with the glue stick. You see how that bottom, I don't know if you can see that, but the bottom is taped all the way around on this one. It's actually lifting up on its own a bit. Although I'm sure there's some leaks in it. Oh, see how that's going up? So let's take a look. I don't see too many leaks in this one. If there are any like rips, holes, just take a little piece of tissue paper. When you can do this like when it's laying flat on the table, put some glue around it and just stick a patch on it like that and it'll patch the hole. But doesn't look too bad. So this, I'm going to take it down with the hot air out. Just turn it upside down and it'll come right out the end there. Feel that hot air coming out, and then we can fold it right back up. Or if you have to, and then if you have to do some repair, it should fold up nicely. Try not to get it too wrinkled. And there's your hot air balloon. Pretty much. So, like I said, I'm going to wait for a calm day. Maybe in the evening or early morning when it's a little bit calmer, and I'm going to do another video showing you how the launch is going to work. And we've done this at school, and some of them go, maybe 30 feet in the air. Some of them go 300 feet. Kind of depends on the conditions and the balloon. But that's something you have to check with your parents on for your heat source. Just if you had a heat gun, you could try that outside. I don't know how much hot air you can get in there, or if you had a couple hair dryers maybe or something like that. But I found that something a little bit hotter works. You just don't want to have an open flame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do this safely so you don't catch this on fire. But I'm pretty sure tissue paper is made with a chemical on it that prevents it from really igniting. So we're not going to worry about this thing bursting into flames or anything like that. All right, so if you have any questions about this video, I think I covered everything, but I'm happy to do a follow-up video if there's something that I missed or something that needs more explanation. I'll do another one. Just let me know on the either email me or just do it on my classroom. I think you guys have been doing that too. So, all right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.